Hi everybody, so in this video we're going to be sharing our passage plan and how we're going to get to the Needles, and we're also going to share how we do a bit of downwind sailing. So if you want to learn a bit about passage planning and also how we get through the Needles through a tide gate at a certain time, then this is the video for you. Why not consider being one of our patrons, and don't forget you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Just so you're here, please hit that subscribe button down there because it really helps us out. It encourages us to keep making these videos, and also you might have noticed that we've got these fantastic new t-shirts on as well, and if you want to get your hands on one of these, then head on over to our Patreon page where you can be a patron of ours and you can get lots of free goodies as well for just being a patron. So we're going to go through our passage plan, and if you want to play along I'll give you a bit of information, and this might be for you guys out there that are potentially doing your yachtmaster theory, or if you just want to know how to do a bit of passage planning and compare it to what we're doing. So the information you need is today is going to be the 1st of August 2020, and we are going to be leaving Weymouth and going over to Yarmouth, and the time we want to leave is 8 o'clock. So that's the information you need, and you can pause the video right now and then do your calculations and see if it compares to what we're going to do. And obviously this is a bit more of a practical sense because we're practical sailors and we're using the theory in a bit of a more of a practical nature. So some true courses to stare in these kind of things that you probably might need for your exam, but this is a bit more of a practical example of how we do passage planning. So let's crack on with it. So as I said, today is the 1st of August, and if we have a quick look at this book, so today is the 1st of August, and if we look here we've got the high water, which is 0919, and that is in standard time, and we're in British summertime, so we need to add an hour onto that, so that's going to be 1019 for our tide time. So now we know that, and we're always working from Dover because that's what our tidal atlas is working to. So even though we're leaving Weymouth, it's always one that confused me when I was first learning. So we look at high water Dover, and we know that this is going to be 1019. So 1 hour before, this is going to be 919, and the 1 hour before that is going to be 818, which I think is going to be close enough to 8 o'clock when we're going to be leaving. So at 8 o'clock when we're going to be leaving, we know that we have got a decent amount of tide coming around the Bill of Portland, and it's going to run us straight into the Needles. Now the important bit to note is, obviously if we go a few hours forward, so if we do go towards 10 o'clock, we know that that's when the tide is going to be turning. And I know a boat of our nature at a speed of 5 knots, we're not going to get to the Needles before the tide changes. So we're going to start having some tide going against us as we come around St Alban's Head. So we're going to have to punch against that tide through these hours here until, I reckon, so that'll be 11, this will be 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock is roughly my estimation of when we should probably get around towards the Needles, or we would be able to get to the Needles. So therefore we still got a bit of tide going against us, and you can see a little bit clearer on this one here because this is the entrance to the Isle of Wight, and we still got a bit of tide against us, and then the immediate hour afterwards we got the tide going into the Needles. So this is roughly around the right time we want actually going towards the Needles, between 2 and 3 o'clock. So that is what we're going to do. So our passage plan is we're going to leave Weymouth here, and then we're going to sail along the coast around St Alban's Head, and then this is when I say that roughly the tide should be around turning around St Alban's Head, but that should get us around the race. But I'll tuck in quite close to the coast here because I know that the tide might turn a little bit sooner than what it says in the atlas, and if it does so, then at least if I'm tucked in nice and close here, I'm not going to be affected by these overfalls too much. We'll go around Anvil Point and we'll have foul tide against us, at least at this point anyway. Now what we can do here is we can calculate what our time is here, and then we can also calculate how long it's going to take us to get to the Needles. Now if I'm going to be a bit early, then I may as well just anchor in one of these bays here. So I can either anchor in Swanage or I can anchor in Studland Bay, and then wait until I've got enough time to get to the Needles to get my tidal gate. You can of course sail across here and you can sail a bit slower and these kind of things, so it all depends on what our speed across the ground is going to be when we get here. I mean, if we're going a lot slower and the wind's not as strong as predicted, then of course we will just carry on sailing across here and then we'll get to the Needles at the right time. But that's your tidal gate and that's what you need to hit. Going into Yarmouth, there is, I mean, if you look at the pilotage book and you look at Yarmouth itself, there is There is no concerns with shallow water or anything like that because it's an access all tides marina. But that's the plan anyway, and now we need to get the lines off and we need to get going. So let's crack on. That's it. So those of you who watched our passage planning thing, you'll notice that actually I didn't give you a course to steer, so bad me on that one. And that's because I sail this bit of coastline quite often, but my course to steer is 105 is what I'm doing at the minute, and that will take me around the headlands. And then it's almost roughly around 90-ish to get me towards the tip of the Needles where I need to enter. Now, I should have probably also mentioned as well, there is the North Passage and there is also the Needles. We're probably going to use just the Needles main channel because we're coming from the west. Now the North Passage you can take if it's in a bit of rougher weather because it's more of a nicer passage, but probably should have mentioned that earlier. But like I say, I'm just getting into sharing our passage planning and this kind of thing, so I might forget a few things in the first instance, so please forgive me for that. Anyway, so we are sailing. We've got the motor on because I want to get around St Alban's Head at the right time before the tide turns, or at least just about as the tide turns. So I want to keep above 5 knots. And we've got roughly around 9 knots of wind coming across our starboard side, roughly around our beam, and we've got the sail set out, both sails, Genoa and main, and yeah, we are doing around 5.6 knots. I hope the wind's going to fill in a little bit later, because then I can just turn the motor off and we can sail all the way hopefully. Now it did say it was going to be a downwind sail, but every time it's a downwind sail we never get downwind. So it's just the way it happens, I guess. But we're going to do the most important thing on a boat now, and that is to make a cup of tea and have some breakfast because we haven't had anything yet. So that's what we're going to do now. Right, so why not France? Well, there's a few things that are going off in the world. I think everybody's heard about coronavirus and all that kind of stuff. And recently in the news we've had cases of where Spain has started introducing a 14-day quarantine for anybody coming back from Spain. Now if you look at the cases of COVID-19 in Spain, I think it was around 1,400 cases a day that they announced the change, and Spain, as we look, and France, as we look today, northwest France and Brittany, exactly where we want to go, the cases are at 1,400. So we expect there is going to be a 14-day quarantine coming in. Now, I'm a key worker. I've not stopped working throughout all this, so I kind of wanted to break away from it. So we just wanted to get sailing somewhere. So that's why we chose to go sailing around the UK. Craig's just started his new business through all of this, through a bit of redundancy and things happen in life. So we can't really afford to go through a self-isolation of 14 days if it does come into effect as well. So we decided it's probably best if we just stay in the UK this year, which is not really what we wanted to do, but it's just what it is. But at least we still get to go sailing, and that's pretty much why we chose not to sail to France. I'm sure a lot of you will understand that. If you don't, well, we're not. We're just sailing around the UK. We're not going to France. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
Got tea. I don't like making tea downstairs. I don't know why I'm Yorkshire either again. And I'm out of ginger biscuits.
We need to stock up.
It's not a good start today.
Show me all your good behavior.
you playing?
We're playing Don't Show Your Teeth.
Oh.
Yeah. And we're playing types of vegetable.
Okay.
Have you got a type of vegetable, Kenny?
What, we're going round?
What?
Carrot.
Yeah, carrot's good, yeah.
Okay.
And different? It's okay, it's okay, that is a test. Vegetable? Education, you're out. Potato, okay, potato. Emma?
Chili.
Who?
Courgette.
Courgette, that's a fruit. Yeah. Type of vegetable.
Parsnip.
Oh, parsnip. Oh, you're the winner. Oh no, you?
No, but you forgot a second time.
Okay. Pick up.
Education.
Education, you're out.
Rock.
Who?
Broccoli.
Broccoli.
Cauliflower.
Oh, yeah, cauliflower.
Cabbage.
Cabbage. Education, you're out.
Summer
You win. Well done.
We're just passing Durdle's door over there, Lulworth Cove again. Motor sailing. Really want to sail, but not going quite fast enough. That's one of the biggest things in the UK is you always have these tide gates that you need to get through. So yeah, it's very difficult to sail completely everywhere, especially on a boat our size as well, because we don't have a particularly fast speed over ground, even if we are sailing or motion and this kind of stuff. So our average is about 5 knots. So yeah, it makes it quite difficult to actually get somewhere where we want to get. So unfortunately we are motor sailing. I am hoping though, because once we've round the first tidal gate, I've got a lot longer to get through the Needles, I think. So it doesn't really matter if I'm doing like 3 or 4 knots then. So hopefully we can go across Poole Bay and we'll just sail across there. Yeah, so we'll carry on motor sailing for a bit, and yeah, the sea's fairly calm, I think. It's not that bad out here. Although you're feeling a bit, aren't you, Craig?
A little bit green.
A little bit green. Maybe we're not used to it yet. I don't know. Yeah, still cloudy. Looks like it's raining over there, but yeah, we're all right at the minute.
So we're just coming up to St Alban's Head, just about to enter the overfalls, and we're fluctuating between 3 and 4 knots, but we have got the engine on, you can probably hear. About 15 minutes ago we tried to get the spinnaker up, and within about 30 seconds of successfully getting it up, we had to douse it as the wind changed. So it was a bit of a nightmare, it almost went in. And I'm feeling slightly green, feel a bit sick. Kids have took themselves to bed.
Yeah, the sea's got a bit worse, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit choppy, but we'll be alright. Soon, I think, what do you reckon, Penny? Once we've passed St Alban's Head, we should be a bit better.
Yeah, hopefully. The problem with the waves on camera, they never look as big as they are. They look perfectly calm out there, but I can assure you it's not. So this is St Alban's Head. A little later than what we wanted to get here, so we're fighting the tide. Yeah, I should have arrived here about half an hour earlier, was what I wanted to do. But we're just going across the rest of the shelf, and hopefully after the rest of the shelf it should get better. I'm not the only boat out here doing it. But I suppose you should never follow others. Southland's really rough. Wind's picked up quite a bit. We was hoping to go to Yarmouth, but ringing round, getting everybody on the radio, there's just no room anywhere that side of the Solent. So didn't really know what to do. So we've come back up the coast towards Poole because we can find somewhere to go in there. So that's where we're heading now. Plus the kids weren't feeling too well, so
Or me.
or Craig. So yeah, we decided to go to Poole.
It was bloody rough.
It was rough. Still is rough.
Yeah, it's not great.
So yeah, we're going to go in there because we've got about 20 knots across the deck, 25 knots. Right there in your hoodie.
Feeling a bit better now.
You're feeling less sicky.
A little bit. Now it's a bit calmer.
So because of the COVID-19 that's going on and everything else, it seems as if there's just no spaces anywhere, or people aren't willing to do any more rafting up and this kind of stuff. So space is very limited. So we was just getting to the edge of the Needles, and we obviously wanted to stay in Yarmouth. Yarmouth weren't taking any more bookings. Lymington weren't taking any more bookings. We had word that the Newtown Creek was completely heaving, and obviously Boney River they didn't have anything, and all the mooring boys were taken. So that means we would have had to carry on to Cows. Cows said they were completely full. So then that means you'll have to go to Southampton or potentially Portsmouth or anchor in Osborne Bay or something like that. But it's just time ends up ticking on and all this kind of stuff. So we decided obviously the best bet for us was probably come back down the coast a little bit and go into Poole. We have had to come right up to the river, even in here, just to try and find something. Need to get a bit more confident with anchoring out, I think, because then it gives us a few more options, I think. I'm just hoping to actually have a night where I can sleep rather than a sleepless night worrying about the anchor. So because it'll be our first time actually staying overnight on anchor, but we need to do it at some point, so maybe this is the right time to do it. So we're just trying to figure out what we're going to do tomorrow, whether it's going to be an early start and try and get into the Needles that way, or whether it's going to be a late start. I'm kind of edging towards the early start because then it gives us more options, and further we can go east in a reasonable time, because obviously got kids on board and everything else. So yeah, I want to get somewhere reasonable in a reasonable amount of time and stop somewhere. So yeah, that's today's plan. Today didn't really go as planned, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see what we're doing tomorrow, I think. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get off the boat now and go and have some food, because no one's really had any lunch because it was a bit rough, very rough.
Extremely rough.
Yes, no one's had any lunch. Couldn't really stomach anything, so even if we made something, they didn't really fancy anything. So yeah, we're going to go and get some lunch now because we're absolutely starving, and it's already like 5 o'clock anyway. So yeah, let's go and get some dinner, and we'll see you guys in the morning, I think. See you next time.